At the foot of the Catskill Mountains of New York, a simple, easy-going man named Rip Van Winkle lived in this village, in a weather-beaten house. Rip would sometimes head into the woods with his dog named Wolf and his gun. One day, high in the Catskill Mountains, he hunted squirrels, firing one shot after another. Hours later, tired, when evening neared, he got up to return home. At that moment, a man came up the mountain, calling out Rip's name. Rip and Wolf both came to attention. As the man neared, Rip noticed that he was short and small, with a big bushy beard, and wore old-fashioned clothes. He was carrying a keg, probably filled with liquor. Then he beckoned for Rip to help him. Always ready to assist others, Rip did so, then came to a hollow bordered by cliffs with overhanging trees. It resembled an amphitheater. There, Rip saw bearded men, all dresses like his companion, and all of odd appearances. One with a large head and another one with a large nose. They neither spoke nor smiled. Upon arrival of Rip, the players stopped their game and stared at him. His companion opened the keg and emptied it into glasses, then motioned for Rip to serve the players, which he did. After the strange men resumed their game, Rip began to feel at ease and decide to sample the brew. It was excellent. He drank another, then another, and another. By and by, the liquor had a heavy effect, and he drifted into a deep sleep. When he woke up to a sunny morning, he was on the same green knoll upon which he rested when he first saw the man with the keg. His mind reviewed the events of the night before, the men, the 9 pins, and the liquor. He reached out for his gun, but was surprised to find that the barrel was rusted and its stock eaten away by worms. Wolf was nowhere to be found. When he arose to return to the place of the previous night's reveals for Wolf to look for Wolf and retrieve his gun. However, the path that he had walked with the stranger was now a mountain stream. Moreover, at the place where he entered the ravine, there was now only a wall of rocks. Dumbfounded, he returned to the village, but was further puzzled when he saw people he did not recognize, all wearing strange fashions. Stroking his chin in bewilderment, he discovered that he had a beard a foot long. The village was larger than when he left it. With more people, he saw strange houses, a strange name over the doors. Dogs barked at him, and the children made fun of him. When he reached his house, he saw an old, deteriorating dwelling with broken windows and a collapsed roof. Inside, he looked about but only found emptiness. Immediately he walked away over to the inn, but it was gone. In its place was a ramshackle building. There were men outside, but none that he recognized. One man was speaking loudly about rights of citizens, election, members of Congress, liberty, Bunkers Hill, heroes of '67, and others words that were perfect babblish jargon to the bewildered Van Winkle. Men gathered around him and eyed him, for he was a strange sight to them. Women and children from the village also came to look at the peculiar man with a long beard and odd clothes. One man asked him how he voted. Apparently it was election day. Others asked whether he was a Federal or Democrat. A third man with a cane, seeing the old gun, asked whether Rip had come to the village to start a riot. Rip told them, "I am a poor, quiet man, a native of the place, and loyal subject of the king. God bless him." At that they declared him a Tory and a spy. The man with the cane calmed the others down and inquired again why Rip had come to the village. Rip assured him that he meant no harm, then inquired where his neighbors were, naming them one by one: Nicholas Vender, Broom Dutcher, Van Brummel, the schoolmaster. Vender has been dead for 18 years, Rip was told. Dutcher went off to the war and never returned. Van Brummel too went off to war, attained the rank of general, and got himself elected to Congress. After these replies, all these replies puzzled Rip. Then he said, "Does nobody here know Rip Van Winkle?" One man replied, "Oh, to be sure, that is Rip Van Winkle yonder, leaning against a tree." The fellow looked exactly like Rip, and even wore ragged clothes. When a man asked Rip his name, he said he did not know, for he now doubted his own identity. A woman named Juliet Gardier came up just then holding a child named Rip. When Rip asked her who her father was, she replied, "Ah, poor man. His name was Rip Van Winkle. It's 20 years ago since he went away from home with his gun, and never has been heard of since. His dog came home without him, by whether he shot himself or was carried away by the Indians. Nobody can tell. I was then but a little girl." She also mentioned that her mother had died when she suffered a broken blood vessel, shouting at a peddler. Rip then identified himself. "I am your father," he cried. "Rip Van Winkle, once young Rip Van Winkle, once old Rip Van Winkle now. Does nobody know poor Rip Van Winkle?" An old woman stepped forward for a closer look at him, and confirmed that he was indeed Rip Van Winkle. When she asked where he had been for 20 years, Rip told his story to everyone. That people, skeptical, winked at each other and shook their heads. It happened that the oldest inhabitant of the village, Peter Vanderdunk, was coming up the road, and he was asked for his opinion. He immediately identified Rip. In addition, it was a fact the narrator reports him as saying that strange beings had always roamed the Catskills, and that Henderich Hudson, the discoverer of the region, visited the area every 20 years with his crew of his ship, the Half Moon, to keep a guardful eye on the river. The crowd then disbanded. Rip went to live with his daughter and her farmer husband. Rip's son, the man leaning against a tree, had been hired to work the farm, but spent all his time on his own interest. Rip went for walks, took up his old habits, and even found a few of his old friends. However, he preferred the company of younger generations. At the age when he could do as he pleased, which was to say nothing, He began sitting on the bench in front of the Doolittle's hotel. There the villagers looked upon him as one of their patriarchs. In time he learned that there had been a Revolutionary War, in which the country broke from England, and that he was now a citizen of the United States. Overall, he was a happy man, and especially pleased to be free of the